Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about the expansion of British Empire in India. What began as a simple trading activity by the English East India Company slowly turned into political control over the entire Indian subcontinent. A major turning point in this process was the revolt of 1857, which changed the nature of British rule in India. To understand this clearly, let us first look at how British rule was established in India. The British presence in India began with the East India Company in 1600. Initially, they came only for trade, especially in spices, silk, and cotton. However, over time, they started interfering in Indian politics. The decline of Mughal Empire and the weakness of regional kingdoms gave them the opportunity to expand their power. Gradually, they moved from traders to rulers. Now, let us see the methods they used to expand their control. The British used several methods to expand their empire in India. First, they used military conquest. Important victories like that everyone knows, that Battle of Plassey in 1757 and the Battle of Bexar in 1764. And these two battles helped them gain control over Bengal. And second, they introduced the subsidiary alliance system under Lord Wellesley, which forced Indian rulers to depend on British troops. And what is subsidiary alliance? It was an agreement between British and Indian rulers, and according to this alliance, Indian rulers had to accept British troops in their territory and they had to pay for the maintenance of these troops. A British resident was placed in their court. In return, British promised the protection of that princely states. And third, there is Lord Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse, so through which the states like Jhansi were annexed. The doctrine of lapse, according to doctrine of lapse, if a ruler died without a natural heir, his kingdom would be taken over by the British. They also followed a divide and rule policy and economically exploited India by controlling land, trade, and industries. All these policies created dissatisfaction among Indians, which finally led to a major revolt in 1857. The revolt of 1857 was a major uprising against British rule. It started among Indian soldiers, they were known as sepoys. The immediate cause was the use of greased cartridge, which hurt the religious sentiments of both Hindus and Muslims because they believed that these cartridge were made with the cow and pig fat. But the real causes were deeper. Politically, many rulers were unhappy due to the annexation. Economically, heavy taxes and loss of jobs created suffering. In the army, Indian soldiers faced discrimination. Socially and religiously, people feared that British reforms were interfering in their traditions. And all these reasons together led to a widespread revolt. The revolt spread to major places like Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi. The leaders like Rani Lakshmi Bai and Bahadur Shah Zafar, they played important roles. However, the revolt failed because there was no proper coordination among the rebels. There was also a lack of strong and unified leadership. At the same time, the British had better weapons and military organization. Even though the revolt failed, it had very important consequences. The revolt of 1857 was a turning point in Indian history. After the revolt, the British government ended the rule of English East India Company. Through the Government of India Act 1858, control was transferred directly to Queen Victoria. The army was reorganized to prevent future revolt, and the British promised not to interfere in religious matters. However, they also strengthened their divide and rule policy to prevent unity among Indians. And these changes helped the British to strengthen their control over even more. The expansion of the British Empire in India was achieved through military power, political strategies, and economic exploitation. The revolt of 1857, although unsuccessful, forced the British to change their approach and made their rule more organized and centralized. It also marked the beginning of Indian nationalism as people slowly started realizing the need to unite against British rule. So, even though the revolt failed at that time, it planted the seeds for future struggles for Indian independence.